Good evening and welcome to everyone for this 53rd leadership conversation we are hosting today. Ms. Megha Tata, she's the Managing Director South Asia of Warner Brothers Discovery. It is a very good time to have a conversation with Ms. Megha Tata, and it's become a larger, bigger organization. And we are extremely thankful to her for giving us this time in spite of her busy schedule. So ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming her, and without wasting much time, we will have her introduction, and we will, before that, once again, welcome to you, Ms. Megha.
Thank you so much, Sudhakar, and thank you very much, everyone, for this warm welcome and an opportunity to speak to all of you today.
Wonderful. What I will do is I'll do a small introduction quickly, and after that, I'll hand it over back to you. So this is the 53rd leadership conversation, as I mentioned. We are having Ms. Megha Tata. She's going to talk about innovation in digital entertainment, the trends and opportunities. It is moderated by Prof. Prasad and I. Ms. Megha Tata joined Discovery Communications India as Managing Director of South Asia on 1st April 2019. Ms. Megha has held several leadership roles at organizations such as BTVI, HBO, Turner International, and Star TV in an illustrious career spanning over 3 decades. An industry veteran, she leads multiple national as well as international industry forums and an esteemed member of the National Media and Entertainment Committee of FICCI, co-opted as the director on board of Indian Broadcasting Foundation, and is also the second woman to ever become the president of the India chapter of the International Advertising Association. Ms. Megha has been instrumental in launching several marquee projects for the network in India, including the launch of streaming service that is Discovery Plus, now India's largest aggregated real-life infotainment OTT service. Under her leadership, Discovery has forayed into original Indian content, with Discovery Plus launching a slew of exciting originals, including the critically acclaimed Into the Wild with Bear Grylls, episodes with film stars Rajinikanth and Akshay Kumar. Her knowledge and deep-rooted understanding of the business have aided the network to achieve new heights in the animation genre, with Discovery Kids' smart strategy and marquee content lineup for the Indian audience. Rebranding Discovery Sports Channel Eurosport in March 2020 is a journey that's worth a lot of lessons. In 2020, Discovery India retained its position as the most trusted real-life entertainment brand by TRA Research Private Limited for the 10th year in a row. 10th year in a row, that's an amazing thing. With content teams being singled out for innumerable accolades, including Network of the Year, as well as Best Entertainment Program and Best Infotainment Program for Man vs. Wild with Bear Grylls and Prime Minister Modi at the 25th Asian Television Awards. Ms. Megha has been bestowed with multiple accolades during her career. She is recognized among the top 50 influential women in India, women in media, marketing and advertising, and was also conferred Women of the Decade in Media by the Women Economic Forum in 2018. In addition to being very actively involved in industry initiatives, Ms. Megha is energized by engaging with young minds through guest lectures at leading education institutions and is passionately involved as a volunteer with Isha Foundation, a non-profit organization started by Sudhakar. I'm extremely happy. Once again, I welcome you, ma'am, and that's an impressive, very, very impressive profile. Next, I will also introduce my senior colleague, Professor Prasad. He's the Director of Academic Wing at ICFAI Group. He currently holds the position of Professor and Post Mentor for the online MBA program that we have launched. He comes with a rich 3 decades of experience as an entrepreneur and also in the professional world, apart from the academic world. He graduated from IIM Kolkata, and his BTech was from IIT Mumbai. Research and publications are several journals and books and conference papers that he presented. Welcome, Professor Prasad, to this conversation. So with this, I'll now request Ms. Megha to start her opening remarks. We will come back for questions and answers. So she will talk for about 20 minutes. And if you have any questions, in addition to what you have already jotted down and shared with us, you can key in the chat box and we'll pick it up depending on the requirement. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Let's welcome Ms. Megha Tata.
Thank you so much, Sudhakar, and thank you, Mr. Prasad, and everyone who's joined in. Thank you so much for your time. It's pretty late in the evening, but I'm told this is the time slot. We do this every year. So I guess you guys are used to this. So the topic was about innovation in digital entertainment and what are the trends and the opportunities. Of course, it's a very evolving industry and an evolving topic for that matter, because that is what innovation is. You know, what you innovate today is probably outdated tomorrow. So, but however, I just thought I'll pen down a few points which I will share with you, and give you my perspective. And of course, if you have any specific questions, agreement or disagreement for that matter, we can keep it at the end of the session. So post and quite a crazy phase we went through, we have inched into a new year and are hopeful that the new beginnings and opportunities are coming our way. While we know that the last 2 years have been quite crazy for all, it did leave us with some learnings, and we know that has shaped our growth per se, personally or professionally. We've all learned something out of these 2 years, at least I definitely have. And needless to say that digital adoption was the most substantial impact which happened in this pandemic across sectors for that matter, whether, and it's industry agnostic, but, everyone sort of adapted and adopted to the digital ecosystem. And OTT hence bridged this gap in the entertainment appetite, offering a chance to the consumers to stay updated with variety of content, whether across languages, geographies, and so on and so forth. So, even for us, from a 5-year-old watching a little Singham to a 70-year-old catching the Legends of Ramayana on our service Discovery Plus, streaming binging became the new norm, so that's how people started consuming a lot of content, and because there was and the consumer was spoiled for choice. So clearly that's been the overall evolution, so to speak, which has happened in the last couple of years. But digital entertainment goes beyond content today. So from cutting edge special effects developed for movies, which is now adopted across other industries, to streaming media, virtual reality, gaming, and the new delivery channels for news, music, advertising, the media and entertainment industry is largely driven and defined by technology across the spectrum. We hear about the buzzwords like metaverse, NFTs, AR, VR, it's all doing the rounds, and the digital entertainment is slated to go even further immersive and innovative, which is exciting, yet quite, I guess we are all apprehensive as well, how this will play out. So I just thought I'd talk about 4 or 5 key trends which we are seeing in the industry, and just touch upon some of those points, and then we can sort of discuss, debate it later. One, of course, there is a content fragmentation also taking place, right? There is an upswing in demand, that's for sure, and it's coming from non-urban India for OTT content in the preferred languages, and this will only galvanize into a big momentum in this year. Now, the formerly underserved regional audiences is one of the fastest growing digital demographics that's making OTT prioritize localization. Beyond just the availability of content in vernacular languages, efforts will also become more sensitive to local cultural nuances, social context, themes to make content more personal and relatable. Content fragmentation is a key trend, and that's enabling streaming players to reach out to niche audiences with specialized offerings. So, for instance, now streaming services like Prime Video, Z5, they're all investing quite a bit in the languaging, in multiple language repertoire, which is catering to different cohorts across different markets or different geographies of India. And we're moving towards a future actually where the quality of stories will define success and viewership, and not just the language they are made or even the star power for that matter. So it's the quality of content versus the quantity, which is obviously going to play a bigger role. And this is frankly nothing new. This has always been the case for any content consumption, but it only is getting more enhanced and pronounced in the digital world. Even in Discovery Plus, for example, we are cognizant of this paradigm shift, and hence we are constantly investing in creating languages dubs for our tentpole properties as well. So while we launched as an international, we have a lot of international content, but that relatability came through stronger across the market when we started dubbing. So languages and regionalization is going to be one trend you will see in this year and coming forward. So, which is why the content fragmentation, that one size fitting all will not happen. And hence you'll see, and if you look at what's happening in the movie, I mean, all the South Indian films, whether it's Pushpa to RRR to KGF, they've hit the storm in the so-called Bollywood world, right? So this is the trend you're seeing. So the South Indian content is moving into the to other markets, and Korean content is getting global, right? So there is a whole fragmentation which is taking place, which is basically creating, I guess, complications for broadcast and platform owners, but huge choice for the consumer. So that's the one trend we are seeing. The other thing which is pretty interesting is the branded content piece. So today's digital viewer is spoiled for choice and is defined, like I said, with limited attention span. People generally don't have too much time, and they are just wanting to watch content which is faster, it's shorter duration. So that is something which you're going to see more and more of it as we go along. So it's very imperative that the regular but there is advertising, which is a key contributor to the revenue ecosystem of most broadcasters for sure. So the customers is becoming more and more aware and vocal about their brand choices. So on the face advertising will be a strict no. Like they don't want right in your face. So how much can you create a communication which has the integration of the brand is going to be an interesting play out. It is something we've been doing for quite a while and done some great work on that. But you also see other brands doing it. For example, MTV Coke Studio, right? Now that started as a partnership with Coca-Cola, but the concept by itself was a huge success. And, there are, of course, versions and seasons of that which came about. Even us, like, for example, we have this show called the Discovery School Super League. It is India's largest quiz program. It is supported by WiseViews. And we are back. They come back year on year. We are in the 4th year of renewal with them. And it is, so WiseViews is not just advertising, it is integrating it to what their core proposition is, which is about education through technology. And so we because of that partnership, we've been able to reach out to 54,000 plus schools, and we've reached almost 13 million youngsters, which are participating in India's largest televised quiz show. So, so content like this is going to emerge more stronger, which is going beyond vanilla advertising, as we call it. The other trend will definitely is getting stronger is and I'm sure you've heard and read about it, is the artificial intelligence piece, right? AI, we will continue to have a transformative impact throughout the media industry, primarily through key 3 important functions. One is recommendation, voice recognition, and media automation. So this it is and is playing a very critical role in the overall content consumption journey, which the consumer is going through. So since the arrival of the streaming services have improved the way we consume content, every provider has invested in recommendation technology in order to cater more efficiently to audiences and with stories that they will find valuable. So, whether streaming services like Spotify, Netflix, they're all leveraging machine learning algorithms to segment their users and provide shows or playlists along what their preferences are. So each technology and AI is playing a very critical role in making a consumer experience more personalized and hence more engaging as well. So that is something you will see a lot more happening in the coming years in the entire ecosystem. I think one of the other things I believe which is going to grow is and it's still early days is gaming. I think gaming and animation will continue to support the creation and consumption in the new normal. That thus gaining which is gaining an edge over the entertainment option. So in the long run, of course, the key drivers would drive gaming consumption in India through smartphone penetration, affordable data services, improving disposable income, supply side factors, deeper adoption to digital platforms. So all that will play a big role, but it also is creating a more immersive experience for consumers. So maybe not all shows, but certain key franchises can be created into gaming, which will make that engagement with the consumer much stronger. So for example, we launched the Little Singham, which is one of our key kids franchise for Discovery Kids. So we launched Little Singham game as an extension to the franchise. And that went on to garner more than I think 17 million downloads, throughout the phase of the campaign. So you're able to extend your brand and your franchise engagement with your consumer through such intervention. So hence gaming will play a bigger role in my view, which is going to get stronger. However, having said that, it's not going to happen immediately. It's a long-term perspective because India, I always say there are many Indias within India. So there are certain segments of the country or certain sort of demographics of the country, which will be the early adopters and more engagement, will engage better in gaming. But there's a large segment which is still, there are parts of the country which don't even have TV still. So maybe they will get into mobile first, and that definitely might happen. And in that through, maybe gaming will play a critical role as well. Two other things which I don't want to talk too much about it because these are still early days, but we do hear a lot about this happening is the metaverse and the NFTs. I think this is a space which is it's very exciting for sure, but it's a space which I think for me, who comes from a little more traditional environment, for my age group, I think we are still sort of trying to understand how this will really work in the real world. When you're creating these unreal worlds, how will how will the real and the unreal world coexist, and how will you make this a monetizable business proposition? I think these are early days, but when I talk to my daughters and children of that age group, that's the conversation you're hearing, whether it's NFT, blockchain, metaverse. So to me, it's a bit alien, but I think it is definitely it will emerge a strong play in our overall ecosystem. But I think in my view, it's a bit early days to believe that that's completely going to uproot the traditional way of existence in the media and entertainment and content consumption space. So I think that's really, we'll have to balance this out, how this plays out. So, there are businesses of today and there are businesses of future. So right now we are balancing how we need to make up today's business strong so that, so we can work on tomorrow's business as well. And those are the things which will sort of play out in the coming months and years. So these are a few key trends one seeing in the market, in the industry. I also see that there will be some bit of consolidation which will take place. There are something like 40, 45 OTT players in the country today. It's tough to make all that business work, right? So how much time do all of you consume content on? How many, at best 4 5 apps you may have to create, have your engagement. So hence it will become very important for players to create a differentiated offering, which is why we believe Discovery Plus could stand out in the crowd, because it brought about a differentiated offering. In the world of like a Me Too, everything was looking similar. Everyone was fighting the fiction war. Discovery Plus came with a very refreshed approach. So, the best of real life entertainment, global library, and then of course our original content, which connected with our audiences, is something which added to the overall offering. So I always said Discovery Plus is a complementary proposition. It's not either or. Like if you want to watch Netflix and Prime and Z and whatever the fiction offering which is there for you, and we all want to watch it. I love to watch it, of course, but we also like to watch content like Discovery Plus, and hence we make a very nice complementary play as well. So I think that's going to be an important aspect as well for people to survive. That how do you bring that differentiated offering? So it's not only, and then of course the pricing of it. It is going to be the share of wallet. At the end of the day, every consumer has got to decide how much am I going to pay for this content, right? We've reached a space where finally consumer is paying for content, which is great, but there is only that limited pie for him or her to spend. So they will make choices, on what to pay for, because there's cable bill to be paid, there's broadband bill to be paid, there's content bill to be paid. So how much of that is going to be their choice, is their ability to spend, is going to be an interesting way to see how that plays out. So these are the 4 5 things which I thought I'll put into the mix, and then I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Ms. Megha. I think that's a pretty good and large canvas that you've covered in a short span of time, and I'm very happy that you did it so beautifully well.
Thank you.
Just to capture these 2, 3, 4 points, interestingly, during the pandemic, we have seen the beauty of OTT. Any product that could come into our living rooms, the fastest was OTT. I think during that time, myself and many of my friends and everyone around the country have watched maximum binge watching, as you call, movies and series and things like that. And that's when we started discussing what is the differentiated content made available by various competing channels. And then the discussion went to a different level altogether. I think, as you rightly mentioned, the content in various vernacular languages is what is the surge of demand going to be on, and all channels will have to compete on that space while providing regional content. Absolutely, that's where people like me have liked Malayalam movies more, although I don't speak and I don't understand that particular language. But now I think it's like diversity and oneness is coming into play when consumer choices are actually very, very rich like this. You have so many 44 OTTs providing so much of content. As you rightly said, we are spoiled for choice sometimes, but that is a wonderful space to keep watching. You're doing extremely well, as you have identified. AI is, apart from various other technologies, AI is going to play a very strong role in terms of the recommendation technology, automation, and apart from that, of course, the voice recognition part, as you mentioned. So several trends are there, and gaming is going to improve. The largest growth is in terms of gaming, visual effects, but everything will take time. As you have rightly mentioned, you are the industry veteran, you know it better. But my participants are waiting to interact with you. they would like to understand a little more about each of these points, and we will take it in a structured manner through the Q&A session. I once again welcome Professor Mahendra Reddy, is our Honorable Vice Chancellor who has joined. I can see his name in the list, and many other friends and well-wishers who have joined from various parts of the country, and some of them from the US as well. So I welcome all of them once again. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in conversation with Ms. Megha Tata, the Managing Director for South Asia in Warner Brothers Discovery. So we will now start the Q&A session, and I welcome Professor R. Prasad. Professor Prasad, over to you.
Thank you, Professor Rao. Ma'am, you have covered a lot of terrain in a space which is highly dynamic and highly innovative, which involves the consumer directly as well as technology. And I don't know of too many spaces which have such kind of interaction taking place, and very, very volatile kind of a space. So the first question would be about your journey. I mean, how did you make decisions about your career, the progress that you have made in your career? How did you make your choices right up to Discovery Plus?
Oh my God. You said you have only half an hour. So, my journey has been a combination of multiple things. I think I would sort of that it's a long, it can be a long answer. I'll try to make it a short one by saying that I think I made some choices. I made those choices very consciously, and sometimes in hindsight, some of those choices may not have been the right ones. But I think I sort of worked on a key premise of the fact that, this is of self-belief, really, and identifying what I really want to do, and whatever the choice I make, then I live with it happily. Whether it is the right or wrong choice, you live with it happily with no regrets. So so my career journey started almost now 30 plus years ago, where I came in. My dad was from Air Force. My mom and dad sort of moved around all around the country. So I've literally lived from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, and eventually came into Mumbai and did my colleging from here. I did want to do my MBA at that time, because I was confused what I wanted to do, but my friends were doing MBA. I said I will also try. But I got a job, which was a walk-in interview at that time. This is happening when there was no cable and satellite. So there was only one Doordarshan channel, which you might be aware. So in those times, we were launching a business, sort of a video news magazine, actually. So that is how I sort of got in my first job, which was a company called, it was part of a Dalmia Group company, which was called ITV, Indian Television, which was also merged with a newspaper called Sunday Mail. And I started my career with them. I never went back. It was a walk-in interview. I got into that job, and my job started literally door-to-door selling. So that's how I started my career, going from home to home, selling this product. As a pure quintessential salesperson, and going into the buildings which used to say dogs and salespeople not allowed. So from there, moved into Star TV, which was just launching at that time. Spent about 12 years there. Then joined Turner. Was there for 9. Spent 2 years with HBO after that. Went to Reliance. Launched a business news channel, and then came into Discovery. So yeah, over the 30 years, sort of have spent a decent chunk of change on. I guess mostly I've been multinational organizations, except for one stint. And I think the journey has been absolutely brilliant. It has its ups and downs for sure, like everybody, because we all know life is not a walk in the park. So I did have my share of challenges, but I think what I started with, that I believe, self-belief and not getting affected by what the world has to think or say, and really focus on your strengths, and also be aware of your weaknesses. I think that's important. No one's perfect. and we're human beings at the end of the day. So you cannot and will not know everything all the time, which is fine. But acknowledging that is important. I think people just lose the focus when they think that they can solve all the problems, which is not a fact. Nobody can. But if you have the right questions, you have the right people, you can overcome those challenges as well. So I think, in nutshell, Professor Prasad, I don't know whether I answered that question.
Yes, ma'am. I think you have. Let me put it this way. I think for a lot of people in the audience, many of whom are going through career journeys, very important to understand how to make one's own career journey, personalize that career journey, and then make it as productive as one can. And I think you have given the anchors around which that can be built. So I think it does inform us about what we need to reflect on when we want to make career choices. Thank you, ma'am. I move to the next question. In the market that you're in, trends change every day. Digital entertainment market. How do you stay up to date and how do you make choices? What are the process by which you make choices? For instance, you made a choice about the legends of the Ramayana or about Singham. So how do you make those choices? How do you make those decisions? That is one part of it. And the other part of it is, how do you stay up to date in all this voluminous turbulence which is going on around you?
So first, you have to stay calm. Okay, because there is going to be lots of action around you all the time, right? So your mind and body needs to be in a stable state of play, because only if your mind is stable, you will think properly. And for that, I highly recommend people to do things which are a bit more inward looking, some kind of inward journey or some kind of spiritual journey, so that it keeps you balanced in the mad world we live in. So that's point number one. In terms of choices and how do I keep updated? So how do I keep updated is by being around people who know more than me. So there is no way for me to believe that I will know it all. And at my age, it is not easy to study. I never liked to study even when it was my age to study. So I definitely am not in that age and mindset that, okay, I will learn. So I learn from being around people who know more than me. And from there, I understand the new trends. I keep track of that. I learn from my children. I have two daughters, and they're grown up. I mean, that one is 24 and one is 20, and I think these are the age group really where they are more of the generation of today and future. So I understand a bit more from them on what are the trends happening, how is the content being consumed, what is being happening. The whole digital ecosystem, the social media ecosystem is something which is very new to me for sure, and to all of us who are in this age group. But if you don't embrace change, you will get left behind. So you have to learn and work and find your own path. Some people join courses and workshops and learn from there. Some people read, some people listen, some people like me hang around with people and understand from them, be in part of networks to know more how these things work. So that's how I keep myself abreast and apprised on what's happening and what are the trends in the industry and so forth. I'm a big believer in networks and networking, and hence be part of associations and organizations, associations specifically, where you can lean into each other, talk to people. Like, for example, associations like International Advertising Association, which I'm a president of as well. It's a great platform for people like-minded professionals to come and share knowledge and learn from each other. So things like that is something I definitely use that as a way to learn. Making choices are never easy, frankly, Professor, because you always make some right, some wrong choices. But I think it's art and a science. So there is a bit of gut and a bit of analysis, right? So research does play a role, but too much of analysis, as we know, also leads to paralysis. So it has to be a balanced approach, so we have to have, you take the data points, of course, but when you're making certain creative decisions, you can't be depending purely on data. You've got to understand the pulse of the consumer. You've got to know what he or she wants. And so it's a combination of that. So that's how you take those calls. But if there are business decisions, that can be a bit more scientific, I would say, a bit more clinical maybe. But when it comes to creative decisions, it has to be a combination of those things, and that's how the team works on. Whether it's our content head, creative head, whether it's for kids or Discovery or Discovery Plus, it is a combination of these things. So Legends of Ramayana, for example, is a great example. It's a show which we know all, everyone knows about Ramayana, right? We all have at some point know something about Ramayana, but we wanted to put a discovery lens to it and say that, okay, what if we make it into like a travelogue, like capture the journey of Lord Ram and how did that play out, and see how it relates to in today's world. And that was the angle. So now there was a bit of gut, because that's Discovery's thing to bring in that, but you added data to research to know the real aspects of it, so that you're not because this is an epic, you can't, the research has to be very, very pure. So that bit of credibility had to be brought in through the various researchers, and the R&D was very, very strong for this show. So a combination of that led to this magic of Lord Ram, and it's one of our most successful shows since we've launched. So that's how, I guess, we take those decisions for everything.
I think that's very insightful, ma'am. I think the first point is about, the need to stay calm and compulsorily in the kind of field that you are in, and many of us are in. And I think the other thing that you've mentioned is, may not be reverse mentoring, but certainly some reverse information flow which is taking place between the younger generation and the older generation. And I think, it is very important for members as they age to have the humility to accept these things. And I think you have really been at the eye of the world, the storm, and been able to get that which you need to understand, because perhaps in your role you need to understand far more of this than many others who are not in that kind of a role and with no background
True.
at all. Okay, ma'am. We move to the next question, ma'am, and this is also connected to the International Advertising Association thing. With this form of digital entertainment coming in, how is marketing or advertising as a practice going to change? Are there some new principles, or the principles remain the same? And how is the practice going to evolve? How is it going to become? How do people like us who come from that field, the management field, what do we need to know in terms of a field like yours?
No, I think it has changed a lot, for sure. The way you market your product and the way you reach out to your consumer is no more the same that was even 5 years ago, for that matter. And I think this is what has happened. What was scheduled to happen maybe 5 years from now, when we were all, before the pandemic, we were all putting our plans together. There was a milestone or a timeline you had created that, okay, this is the evolution which will happen in 5 to 7 years. But what pandemic then, it just accelerated that whole thing. So the whole, all what was probably going to happen in 5 to 7 years happened in 2. And because of that, there was a lot of unpreparedness by the industry, by the markets, by the businesses, and they all started sort of figuring out what's the best way to deal with this change, which is like hit everybody on our faces like really strongly. So whether it is the content consumption and the consumer moving away from, say, traditional to digital mediums. So because that change took place, obviously the marketers have to also find a way to reach their consumer in different ways. And that's where all the technology started playing a big role. So digital consumption and digital metrics have come in play. So when you look at the advertising across digital platforms, it's far more, you can see it as glass half full, as in like it's very, it's all data centric. So you know who you're marketing and why you're marketing and what's your ROI. It's better platform. But there are areas of gray which still we don't know exactly how much money you need to spend to really see the genuine ROI of it, and that's one area which I guess there will be more work which will need to be done on that. But if you also look at the reality, however, Professor, is that 80% of the revenue, the digital revenue, is made by just two platforms, which is Google and Facebook, right? So this whole digital revenue opportunity has to be really thought through. Who's actually making the money? So the question is that, even when we look at digital propositions and how do we monetize it, today the monetization in the broadcast community and the broadcast world, it's still coming from television. It is the digital business is important, but it's not making money yet. And the reality is that it is the traditional business which is funding the digital business. And so how does this play out in the long run is, I wish we all had a crystal ball to gaze and make those predictions, but we have to see how this works out, so the balancing of these two is very important. So hence, to market those consumers, it is changed. So the algorithms are different, how you reach to them, in how much duration you need to communicate. Like, there was from 30 seconds, it's now 3 seconds. You have to now manage to communicate the same message in 3 seconds, So literally we are in a 3 second to 3 hour communication world. 3 seconds on the social platforms to 3 hours of movies, right? That's the range of durations you're dealing with and the consumer pattern, right? And imagine you're dealing with a consumer who is whose attention to span is 3 seconds. Like in 3 seconds, he wants to skip an ad. Like, he doesn't want to wait for a 30-second ad to finish. In 3 seconds, he wants to skip an ad. Now, that kind of consumer, you have to find a way to communicate your message in the most concise manner, is not an easy job. So I think the job's getting more and more tougher for marketers, frankly. And there has to be metrics figured out on how you can make that a cost-effective, ROI-led marketing plans. And I'm not a marketing professional as such, so but I think this is how I see the challenge is in the real world.
Thank you, ma'am. Through your questions, you have indeed given a lot of insights into where the issues are. And it's very interesting because whenever I open Facebook, the Discovery Plus Legends of the Ramayana keeps coming. I've seen that. I have not clicked on it.
That means my marketing team is doing a good job.
Absolutely, because every time it's opened, I see it, and I've been noticing, this it doesn't go off. So that is one side of it, and the other side of it, which you mentioned and very revealingly, is about the ROI. So at the stage where uncertain spends, as you mentioned, for ROI, that's the stage where I think the understanding of this particular science, though it is a data science at the beginning of the funnel, towards the ROI side, it's not as clear as that. So I think that's one issue that you have raised, and I think that gives us a lot of insight in terms of what we also do. And the other major thing that you mentioned is that traditional business is funding digital business to a very large extent. I think the issues are very clear, ma'am, and I think some more signs will come into the ROI part as well. Thank you very much.
Great.
I have another last question in this cluster, ma'am. And this is about the potential for Indian content, Indian entertainment content, such as what you have on a global platform. What do you see? Where does this go?
Oh, it's the potential is huge, absolutely, and and the world is one family now, right? So, and that's that whole connection of the whole world through technology is the beauty of, of being able to cross-pollinate content. And that's what's happened, because whether you're sitting in Jharkhand, you can still be watching a Korean show, or you can be sitting in Seoul and you can be watching a Malayalam movie, right? So I think the fact is that this whole world has sort of become one in many ways. And platforms like ours, we are able to showcase because you're globally present, and so you can show the Indian content internationally and the international content in India. And that definitely is already happening. So there's nothing new in that. That's already taking place. But Squid Games is always referred to one Asian, like a regional show which has taken the world by storm, and and it was a global hit. I don't think so. As of now, any Indian show has made it to that level. So can that happen? Absolutely, yes. When can that happen? Maybe tomorrow, maybe 2 years, maybe, I don't know. But I think the opportunity, definitely, technology has given us that opportunity to do it. Now it is about the creative people have to come up with an idea and an approach which can sort of cut across the globe. So so right now, anyway, content is getting consumed across the globe.
Thank you, ma'am. I think, you have kept the door open, and I think there is a lot of possibility in what you've said. And it was also interesting about the pitch on the travelogue part that you made on the Ramayana, very slightly different way of looking at it. And I'm sure many more ideas will come on how others will find it far more interesting than we do. Thanks a lot. This is the end of this cluster. I hand it back to Professor Rao.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Prasad. When you graciously hand it over back to me, I only think that you have just left 10 minutes for me. But then I think such is the discussion, so interesting, and there is much more to discuss and many more questions to be asked. But I'll just stick to only 2 questions in this cluster. Meanwhile, ladies and gentlemen, please raise your hands if you want to ask any question directly. That we will take as a priority. So let me see the raised hands, if any, and then I'll come to those hands once I finish these 2 questions. Ma'am, these questions are very simple. You have answered many other questions related to what I have, but I'll restrict to just these 2. As we all know, innovation is a continuous process. And what do you see? Is there anything beyond digital feature in this space?
Beyond digital?
The one thing that we always talk about beyond digital is metaverse. Likewise, in general, specific to your space, within your space of media and entertainment, what are things beyond digital?
No, like I mentioned in my talk as well, that metaverse is evolving. I think it's early days, to be honest. I don't know much about it to have a point of view. Let me put it this way, and let me be honest about it. I've been hearing about it. I've been seeing things happening. There are launches happening. I think there was a movie which got the trailer of Radhesham got launched, I think, on a metaverse, and songs are getting launched and things are happening. I think anything in life for it to be there forever needs to have a proposition which is sustainable, and I think that's something I am not fully, to be honest, aware of this part of the world to have a point of view. So I think early days, I would say, Sudhakar.
Yes. It is actually emerging, and it is very difficult to say anything about it. But as you rightly said, sustainable proposition is something which will help us say something on that. And if you see that, probably with people with your kind of experience will be able to comment on that. But it is too early for any one of us to even take a stand on that. Absolutely fine. I'll take another question, which is the subscription video on demand. What should be the future ecosystem of SVOD? Any thoughts on this, ma'am?
Well, frankly, SVOD is here to stay, and it is, it's like I said, finally the consumer is paying for content, because all this while it takes money to make content. It doesn't happen out of thin air. You have to spend a lot of money to give you that quality of content, which every consumer has got used to it through these international exposures of content they're getting on these platforms, right? So when you're going to spend that money, you have to make money, right? So how do you make money through there are limited means. Advertising so far has been the only way to make that. Now that has its limitation, so paying for content had to be a way to make a business work. And so that in that sense, I think it's wonderful that finally we've come around that in the ecosystem. So SVOD is definitely here to stay. In fact, AVOD, which is the advertising video on demand, is also an important play. And if there can be both AVOD and SVOD to survive together, is an ideal scenario. But I think every business has to take those decisions where you want to put your money in, either an AVOD or SVOD. So yes, so SVOD is definitely here to stay.
Great. SVOD is here to stay, and if possible, coexist with AVOD. Wonderful. I think those are wonderful takeaways for us, ma'am. There is one question, and very interesting. This was a question even to me when I watch my children constantly engaged with the Korean content. Now, suddenly in our house, BTT is very popular, and then various other Korean movies are extremely popular. This cultural invasion has come into my home without my knowledge, and I'm now suddenly realize, and don't tell anyone, I feel far, far behind this generation. So, so ma'am, why do you think it has become popular? Why Korean content has become so much popular?
I mean, I don't know, frankly. I mean, it's a personal choice of what's becoming popular, what's not. It's people are, I think, the fact that, I mean, like, I'll give you my own personal view about Squid Games, right? I mean, I'd never watched Korean content at all. I knew of my friends, my children's friends in that age group. People were watching a bit of Korean and did BTS and One Direction. No, One Direction. Some band is their Korean band who's like people are going, and these kids were singing the Korean song. They were literally mouthing it. They knew the lyrics. I said, you know what you're singing? They said, no, we don't understand it, but they just knew it. So that in that age group, you could see that was building. But when Squid Games happened, and everyone just found it literally like very never seen before, that's what I think appealed to a lot of us. It was quite bizarre. It was quite quite erratic. Nothing you would have never seen something like this on television, basically. And that sort of got everybody intrigued, like, oh my God, what is this? Like, I am like someone just commented, a shock value. Exactly. This is what was like, shock. What is this happening? What is this rubbish? So, but it was so rubbish that you wanted to watch it again, and then you wanted to watch the next episode. So they just captured that, and that's probably that's what appealed to me. And I think when I talk to my friends and all, we all watched it for that same bizarre reason. So I think everyone has their own view. But even for that matter, like suddenly people are talking about Malayalam movies, right?
Yes.
And it's not like that Malayalam movies didn't exist. They were wonderful films even 30 years ago, right? But it's just that today technology has given you access to watch such wonderful content. Now you can be sitting anywhere in the world and watch that. I think that is where the overall play out has changed, and hence I think there's more and more of that crazy stuff which will happen.
Amazing. Lots of shock values. Yeah. One last question I will take before Sanjay. Would you like to ask that question yourself? You can open your mic and ask, but I'll finish my question. What are your plans for entering regional OTT space in India?
Our plans specifically, there aren't any. to get into regional, but regional play is an important play to most of the platforms. I mean, for us as well, we have our content dubbed in Tamil, Telugu, Bengali, besides Hindi and English, of course. But so there is that continues to be a priority for us. But I think regionalization of content is going to be an important play for a lot of people, a lot of platforms. And like I said, the examples of the movies we've seen from South of India becoming sleeper hits in theaters, I think is a good reference point of how consumer choice is changing. And it doesn't matter which language you come from, as long as I can listen to it in the language of my choice, I'm good with it. So I think regionalization is going to play. So dubbing, subtitling, these are all tools which will help you to connect with that content in the language of your choice.
Thank you very much on that. How do you see digital entertainment ending up in the next, say, 5 years?
Too many sort of variables involved in that, frankly. So I think 2-3 things which will happen is, of course, consolidation to some extent. I mean, there are 45 plus players. To be able to sustain that is going to be a challenge, which we are seeing happening anyways. We're seeing Z and Sony merger happening. We're seeing there is some, you saw Warner Brothers and Discovery merger happening. So, these are all mergers which will happen, and then there'll be some bit of consolidation, because at the end of the day, consumer wants it simple. They don't want so much, they want to take a few and pay one amount and then watch as much as possible on a few platforms. So that's how probably it will play out. And like I said, technology will only make it more, your consumer experience will be an important part to make the differentiator. How I consume the content, how I pay for that content, how much do I pay for the content, how much easier is it for me, how much easier are you making my life as a consumer, is what I think at the end of the day a consumer will decide what he or she wants to pay and watch.
Right. I think a lot of it will be shaped by the consumer preferences, which are fast changing, and we need to see this not in the next 5 years, but I think every year and many times in the year as well. These things are changing. One needs to put the finger on the pulse of the consumer and try and customize, try and actually play around that in order to provide and satisfy the customer. So, Ms. Megha, so the questions that we have in this cluster are over, and I was trying to read the questions in the chat box. We will come to that a little later, but I'll request, now the time is 8:31. That is the time that I have asked you from. And I'll request quickly if Professor Prasad has any question, but before he asks, I will put him in a fix. The question to Professor Prasad, and you can answer, ma'am, is Professor Prasad now heads our digital arm. He is the professor and mentor for the online program. So it's a fully online program. He is the architect, and this program has been recently launched. Many people have joined. They're doing this MBA program. Often I feel that the biggest competitor to a fully online program like this is the OTT world, and you are one of them. So between both of you, you will have to now resolve how this competition and what kind of tips that you can give us so that we can also try and compete better, or how we can work around this kind of competition and onslaught to make sure that our students come back to our classes and stick to this wonderful program that Professor Prasad has created. Over to both of you.
I think you should just make it more, you need to make it more engaging. I think that's where the problem is. See, there is a whole fatigue which is hidden in the online world, So first of all, ideally it'd be best to come into the offline world and make people come into a classroom and engage better. And I think that is a good step forward. I think students are all fed up sitting at home, and I really don't even know how they did it. Whoever did it managed. Hats off to all those students who managed to study through a medium like this. It's not easy. But so getting them offline is a good starting point. But I think more than that is also engaging better with them through real life experiences. I think that there's no, I mean, books and theory is always good to give you a framework, but the reality, the real world is pretty different. And I think if you can have a more, I'm sure you have professionals coming and talking to your students, and that's a good place. So maybe that's something, maybe make it more engaging for them to come, is how probably maybe is one of the ways, I guess.
Yes, Professor Rao.
Yeah. Do you have any you have any response to what ma'am has said? And
yeah,
you can also ask your question, and then I'll come back to wrap it up.
Yeah, this is in fact a very good question. What we saw as important and what we think as important 6 months earlier is not necessarily what is important now. And there is a need, because traditional education has viewed education and established itself in a certain way. And there are a lot of paradigms which are extremely strong in traditional education, campus-based education. The fact that there is a life in the campus and there is a 2 years of experience in the campus makes a huge difference. So when you're actually talking about it from a fully online kind of an experience, you need to look at it in a completely different way. So ma'am talked about 3 seconds. The same thing exists, the question is, why should I watch this video? It may be, you may have the best of companies, real life situations in that. Even that is a question. Why should I watch? Suppose it's a 3-minute video. 3-second videos for learning may be very difficult, but 3-minute videos, take 3-minute videos, one of the shortest that we can do. The question also is, why do I need to watch that?
But it's how you make that video, no?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's not about just the duration. It's also about the way you engage.
Yes. So of course, when we did the design, we brought in, you started with a story and then came to the question. So we have a real life application, which is briefed and captured in a certain way. And then we come to the question which is asked. But there are other points. The point is that all of us are competing for the same time of that person. The OTT is competing for the time. The learning person is also competing for the time. And the person has so many other priorities that they have. They have to earn their own bread, which gets most of their priority. And then they come back and do all this. So the fact is that this 24 hours is fixed and we are all competing for this time. And that is a very, very critical point. The second point is that what we have found is when we start making it a bit more personalized into his work, imagining situations which could happen in that particular work, which we have begun to do in the last 2-3 months, far more than what we used to do earlier, we find that there is a pull. There is a pull which comes because it's not the same thing that everyone has to do. It is different from person to person. So what we are able to imagine, and here faculty it's a disruptor, because faculty will have to do a lot of visualization before they get to this. And it's quite possible to do, but it involves a completely different type of time. It's not session time. It's not class time. It is time by which you are able to creatively connect between what the person is likely to look at in his work and how you're able to connect it with your framework. So the case study is inside the organization. And the person who's going to create the case study is the student, much like the metaverse, the experience which is created by the person who's engaging with the metaverse. So there is some similarity there, and it requires a lot of work. We're just at the beginning stages of it, and hopefully we should be able to do something about it.
Wonderful. I think there are lots of plans and strategies that Professor Prasad is engaging in to customize, personalize the learning aspects in the online MBA program. Thank you very much. I was not putting it across as a joke, but I thought something credible, something useful will come out of this conversation. So I asked you that question. Very nice. Thank you very much for sharing the plans of personalization with each and every student, which connects to his world of work or her world of work. Thank you very much. If anybody else would like to ask questions, you can raise the hand. Otherwise, we have Pankaj Kumar asking too many questions. So I thought we'll open the window for Pankaj Kumar and then close it. Pankaj Kumar, would you like to ask the question? Okay, we will leave it at that. And what I now do is I'll try and sum up. But before that, this has been a wonderful session, Ms. Megha Tata. I think the life of a managing director is something that we have stumbled upon, especially when you're working with a huge multinational conglomerate like this, and at a very, very busy time that you are in, when the merger happened between Warner Brothers and the Discovery. In spite of, you could have easily told me that you will never be able to talk to us and then excused yourself, but the professional in you has helped us to connect with you and stay on this program. So I must thank from the bottom of my heart for your presence. Wonderful. And not only the life of a managing director, but what you have given is a very new kind of facet. When things are changing so fast, like it is happening in the industry that you belong to, you have advised us to stay calm. I think that's a fantastic point. I think most of the times we don't stay calm and we end up making wrong decisions, because stable mind is something, as you said, will help you deal with these kind of mad situations. And inward looking, inward journeys are possible. Like you are you are also a volunteer for the Isha Foundation. Probably that's where you picked it up. But it is a suggestion to everyone. They can find their own organization, their own meditation methods possible to connect inwardly, so that they stay calm and they optimize on the energies that they have to take good decisions in their businesses and in lives. And that's a wonderful lesson for us. The second one is that there are many Indias in India. We always have been knowing that this is a plural country, multiple tastes, several languages, and several genres will appeal to several clusters of people. And therefore, it's a very, very complicated structure. But regional content, with the help of emerging technologies, will help us steer forward in appealing to them. And AI will play a major role, as we have discussed. The third or the fourth point is about the real success of a corporate professional in business, or probably in life also, is due to the combination of analytics and gut feel. I think analytics is analytics. It will provide, you are trained to actually look at analytics and take that data. But in spite of having the data, your gut feel says, gut feel comes because of variety of experiences, or because of the kind of person that you are, having spent so many years in one industry or dealing with one particular subject. There is a gut feel. And if that gut feel is, in case, different from analytics, then one would go by the gut feel. But traditionally, when I hear from various leaders on this platform over the last 52 weeks, we have understood that success is equal to gut feel plus analytics. And that's the best combination. And differentiation is what will help us win the game. That's the fifth point. Whether it is digital entertainment, or specifically OTT, or even online programs that we are running, differentiation is the way to win. And the more immersive an experience that you can provide, like the way you move from the general digital entertainment to gaming, what kind of immersive programs that we can offer in our online MBA program also will probably determine. That's the connect I draw. That's the lesson I have. Ma'am, I want to just remind you that the people who are attending, they are not our students. They are basically working in variety of domains, industries like pharma, sports, social life, engineering, IT. Probably some of them are from media as well, media and entertainment industry as well. And the range, the sixth point is the range of touch points and the challenges that we have to deal is a 3-second attention span to a 3-hour product that we have to give in the world of media and entertainment. That's a very, very big challenge. And organizations will have to gear up to meet this real challenge. And consolidation, that's the next point, is happening. Many mergers, many acquisitions will take place. And wonderfully, how the customer will actually be in the forefront to guide these things happening, because customer would like to have certain things which are very simple. At the same time, the choices are quite multiple, they are quite manifold. So therefore, it is going to be difficult. It's not easy. And as we consolidate, probably the strengths of different organizations will come together, help see the customer, read the customer, and provide whatever is required. And that's a wonderful way of analyzing how the business is going to move forward. And one interesting point that you mentioned is that, not in exact words, but if you are the smartest person in the room, you should just get out of the room. and you would like to spend your time with the smartest people around always, so that you pick up a few lessons and you would like to improvise, grow yourself, and try to lead a better life in business or in real life, in life other than business. So I think that's a very important point that you mentioned. And your journey has been very, very inspiring, ma'am, from a D2D selling job initially to Managing Director, South Asia for a multinational conglomerate like Warner Brothers Discovery is an amazingly impressive journey. And if others have not told you, I will say this on this platform, that you don't look like a mother of a 24-year-old or a 20-year-old. I'm quite, well, yeah, I have to say this. And you kept yourself calm, and you look very young, you look very sharp, and you talk extremely, extremely sharp in terms of your industry, in terms of how to handle oneself, lessons for management, lessons for success, and you are completely hands-on managing director. Your presence today has been immensely beneficial to me as well as all our participants. I must thank you once again for this wonderful discussion that we have had with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. What a wonderful summary that was, Sudhakar. Really, it really captured everything really well. And thank you so much for this opportunity, for this interaction. I hope this was helpful to people who listened in. It is quite an exciting time to be part of this industry. Exciting, yes, but we have to tread with caution, because it can be quite overwhelming. As far as keeping a balance is concerned and the calm is concerned, like Sadhguru says, in is the only way out. So that's, I'm a big believer in that theory. So try to look inwards, and, a lot of things will happen outside, which you can then deal with. So yeah, I hope everybody gets some bit of, as I say, a little drop of spirituality in your life, because that's all it takes to keep yourselves calm.
Great.
So thank you so much once again.
Thank you very much from all of us. From all of us here, we would like to thank you. We'll stay connected with you and try to keep learning from you. So ladies and gentlemen, this has been a wonderful conversation as you have participated and as you have witnessed, and several questions remained. There are layers and layers of questions, so we'll probably write to Ms. Megha about the additional questions that we have and seek answers wherever possible. But thank you very much for joining, all of you. We would Thank you, ma'am, and thank you all. We will see you next week on Friday, 7:30 p.m. with another leader, Dr. Evita Fernandez, who is the chairperson of Fernandez Foundation. She's an extremely popular doctor. She's a leading obstetrician and gynecologist, and we would like to learn lessons from yet another leader from that domain next Friday at 7:30 p.m. and see you then. Till then, do take care and keep watching Discovery Channel.